Imagine having your own secret underground hideout far away from everything, all yours and yours alone. In this video, you'll see the journey of building the perfect hideout. They'll dig it themselves, plaster the walls, and design the place to be the strongest and most comfortable spot you can imagine. Step by step, they'll turn the idea into reality and will live the experience in every detail. Get ready for a new challenge with Craft Wilder DIY. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment, because it really helps the channel grow. Now, let's get started. This hideout provides safety from so many things: solar storms, nuclear fallout, or even hiding from zombies. Jerry has dreamed of this since he was a kid. The first guy was gonna pick a regular shipping container like the ones used for trucks, but he turned it down and went with this giant pipe design instead. It's usually used for draining rainwater and has a spiral shape inside with a diameter of 12 feet, literally huge. He picked it for a few reasons, mainly because it can last up to 100 years without any issues. And since it's so massive, it takes up a ton of space. They move these pipes using 2 massive freight trucks, plus they bring in a tractor and a crane. The pipe is about 20 feet long and weighs around 4,000 pounds, or 2 tons. The crane holds the whole pipe like it's tied up tight. These 2 pieces cost $31,959 in 2023, and these pipes can easily handle being buried 100 meters deep, since they're used all over the world. The installation and engineering are well known in most countries among engineers and industry experts, and of course they've been tested and documented. This bunker was designed to hold 6 people, and Jerry needs to start working quickly before the snow falls, especially since the neighbors are suspicious that he's up to something. Like I said, these pipes can be buried 100 meters underground, but he decided to put them just 6 meters deep. He just acts like that and says he did it because this is the spot that'll benefit from the ground's thermal insulation, plus it'll keep the place warm in winter, especially since their winters are no joke. The idea is that the pipe above ground isn't as strong as when it's underground, but if it's buried, there's a layer of clay that gives it huge strength and can support way more weight without any issues. So here they start by checking out the spot where they'll store it underground. Since they want the pipe to go down 6 feet and it's 12 feet in diameter, they need to dig 18 feet deep. Now, they gotta secure the edges. The pipe needs to be connected and lifted from it, and it has to be welded really well to avoid any problems. So the circle frame that's sized for the pipe fits perfectly, and every part is welded tightly together. Thankfully, the welding was done properly here. They did run into a few minor measurement mistakes, but they fixed them on the spot. In the end, the welding turned out good. Then they started the heavy work. The excavator came and they began digging in the yard to put the pipe in. First, they removed the first part of the garden, which is the grass here. They took out every part. There were 2 cranes here as well. One person digs, while the other removes the dirt and throws it away. But instead of just tossing it, they put it in the spot called the dumping area because they'll use this dirt again later. Of course, before digging, they made sure there were no gas lines, water pipes, or anything else underground, because obviously no one needs to be told how many problems would happen if they dug where those things are. They use a laser rod here to make sure the measurements are exact to the millimeter. After confirming the measurements, the excavator starts working again, and every time they use the same laser rod to double check the measurements. In the end, they go down to dig the last layer because the excavator can't reach the bottom by itself if it went down. They're not going to have any problems if they avoid them, so they have to dig the last parts manually. The crane's here now, and it started lifting one of the pipes. It's being lifted super high. Honestly, it's kind of scary. That lift alone cost $1,800 for the whole day. The first pipe is down now, so they're moving on to the second pipe. After both pipes were moved, they're now underground. The plan is to connect and weld them really well. They started adjusting the height because they weren't even. The bolts need to fit together perfectly. Finally, they put in the first bolt, and these bolts are really strong to hold the pipes. Plus, the dirt will be packed down anyway, so it'll be sturdy. But nails are still the better option, and they'll give extra safety. Now that the pipes are installed, they need to start building an elevator to get in and out of the lab. They cut these iron sheets with a torch and adjust their size. Before welding the iron pieces, they have to make sure the measurements are right and the edges are smooth for welding. After welding and putting together many iron parts, it looks like this. Basically an iron cage. This cage weighs more than the car itself, so as soon as it lands on the ground, you see the car lift up too. Then they weld a big piece of iron holding everything together to form a casing. This elevator thing is really tricky, especially since they have to deal with huge weights and the underground temperature is a bit high. Still, it's okay for them to live in, just not for long periods. There are 2 ventilation systems, one for biological hazards and one for heating and cooling. The problem with heating and cooling is that it uses a ton of electricity, like around 1500 watts. That's why he chose this bed. It's super smart. It literally heats and cools you, and you can split it in half so one side is cold and the other's warm, no problem. Plus, it tracks your sleep, heart rate, eye movement, everything. Only issue is, it only works when there's Wi-Fi, but if there's a problem and they're basically at the end of the world, then this bed just won't work. The cool thing about these cranes is that they're not just for digging here, they can lift anything. They used it to lift their amazing elevator, and the lift was easily handled right here. Finally, they managed to get the elevator to stand upright, and they brought in metal plates to attach to the elevator's frame. These metal plates cost $6,100 $149, and this crane is seriously legendary. It can lift all that weight and move around in super tight spaces between the houses. After that, they take their elevator and hide it down in the storage. To secure the elevator, they welded some extra metal pieces to its base so it can grip the ground better. They put concrete under those extra pieces and lowered the elevator onto it so it can hold itself firmly on the ground. Then, the pipe frame and the elevator frame are assembled together with screws, but they're really strong. Everything here is made of iron and metal, not just wood. Right now, they need to apply a coating or make these pipes waterproof, because if rainwater gets on them, it's gonna cause problems. Right away, and unfortunately during the welding here, a fire broke out and damaged some parts, but they can be fixed. The entry and exit to this hideout need to be secured properly, because if someone gets in and there's a problem and the entrance collapses on them, that would be a grave, not a hideout. Since there's only one column for the elevator here, they're going to add another column as a backup in case anything happens. After opening a second opening in the other part of the hideout, now it's time to clean or maintain the pipe from the inside. The floor of the pipe needs to be level so people and equipment can move easily underneath, and for the welding. Sometimes parts of the pipe here get damaged, so they have to make sure everything is fixed properly before they cover it back up with dirt. That way there won't be any leaks. It's also really hard for anyone to walk on the slippery spiral pipe walls. That's why they need to install a full floor for the pipe here. Once it's installed, there'll be more space to move around easily. To connect the entry column to the socket, they use something called a magnetic drill. It uses an electric magnet to stick to the hidden wall so it can drill a big hole in the elevator or pipe structure, allowing them to put in the screws. Here they're using installation clamps on the vault and concrete blocks, so that when they start filling in the gravel and soil, the vault itself doesn't get lifted. They also apply a water-resistant adhesive material. All this is to make sure that when they cover or put soil on top later, there won't be any problems. They mix these special materials together to create a coating that resists rust and corrosion, so this pipe can last for a very long time. They literally coated every part of this pipe, even the elevator, with them. Then they take a metal piece cut in a circular shape to place it where two pipe holders meet so they can be firmly secured together. If you think this is just about grabbing some dirt and throwing it on the hiding spot, you're wrong. The reality is way more complicated. The dirt was naturally compacted over millions of years, but now that it's been moved, it's really soft, especially since rain and water definitely reached it. So what they do here is bring in a truck called a gravel spreader, which dumps the dirt from about 60 feet up. You also have to dump it in a specific way because, like I said, the dirt is very soft. The gravel they use is small but hard enough to apply pressure and clean up the dirt. As soon as it falls from the truck, they come down and spread the gravel over it. They bury it tightly to make sure there are no air gaps for air to pass through, because if there are, the pipe can move or shake freely, and of course, they don't want that at all. Sometimes they even use a machine to press the gravel firmly under the pipe. Also, those green straps you see help stabilize the pipe, since they're tied to the concrete beneath the soil from the start. They also try to spray water on the soil to make it really heavy. Basically, they're trying to recreate the pressure that normally builds up over millions of years in just a few days. Plus, they adjust the soil here to keep insects away. The creatures that used to live there come back to it again. They also added a backup exit rod for the hideout, which is like a spare anode. It gets fixed in the hideout too. They brought a material similar to the positive pole in a water heater, which needs to be replaced every 5 years. It's a piece of zinc weighing 15 pounds, meant to be placed on the hideout to protect it from corrosion. This zinc also provides an extra level of protection. Now they've connected it to the hideout, so over time, instead of the hideout itself corroding, the zinc piece will corrode instead. Digging the hole takes a long time after placing each layer. They have to redo everything from scratch with the sand to increase the pressure in the area. The pipe is basically starting to disappear, and after they put the last layer of the seal here, the pipe completely vanished. Once all the mud goes back to its place, they'll start restoring the original surface layer, which is the grass. Now, let's go check out the cellar underneath and see what they're going to do with it. The door gets taken off and they put up a temporary ladder to get down. The cellar is creepy, which makes sense since it's buried under 6 meters of earth. So they started putting down a metal floor here to stand on, and of course, breathing down here is a bit tough. So they have these 2 fans running to pull the air out and get rid of any smoke from the welding. They started bringing in metal and fixing it along the inside of the pipe. Then they began installing the wooden floor on top. That way, the round pipe became flat. This is what the space looks like under the wooden floor so far. The whole thing has taken 2.5 months to build,
build, and the project has cost around $98,000 so far. A pretty big amount, of course, but Jerry's got a bit of money, so for him, it's no big deal. He thinks it's worth it for what he's building. Now, they're going to install an elevator here using a scissor lift. It's been used before, mainly because traditional elevators are really expensive. They're starting to fix up this cart now, and they'll also remove a lot of unnecessary parts from it to lighten the weight and save some good space in the hideout. After a lot of work, the moving elevator is finally done, and it'll be permanently fixed in their hideout. Of course, to create a solid base for this elevator, they need to pour a lot of strong concrete. So they started mixing and pouring the concrete here, and before it dries, they'll place 4 metal supports on this base. That's what will give them a solid spot to secure everything. After a lot of work, the elevator was fixed in place perfectly on the first try. It was lowered very precisely onto the nails that were already anchored in the concrete below. They also installed a ladder next to the elevator in case it breaks down. Plus, the elevator was designed so Jerry's wife wouldn't have any trouble using it and could easily get in with her wheelchair. To connect and divide the basement, they needed to section it from the start. So they used metal pieces that fit around the whole pipe. These pieces help hold the pipe firmly, and when they secure any room with the elevator that was installed from the beginning, it really makes a difference. So literally, to get all this equipment down there, they started working on the electrical part. They began running wires underneath and tried to set the whole foundation up properly. After a long time and a lot of effort, the entire electrical area was built, and the rooms and corridors were also divided. They also wanted to make the solar panels that will generate electricity for the place to ensure there's always renewable energy. They took these 3D designs and went to a workshop that started cutting and preparing the materials for the solar panels, and also cut a door to create a backup entrance or exit to be used. When building the single panels, they also reinforced the backup entrance to fix it up. Basically, they're going to make it so it doesn't look like an entrance or exit. At the end, they put a rock on it to serve as decoration and also to camouflage it so no one notices there's a hatch there. Now they're installing the solar panels on the main elevator. They brought some metal pieces to put under them, and there's a wheel to make opening and closing easier. It got installed and the screws are tightened here, so the base for these panels is set. Then they bring the panels and put them in place. And they also made a frame around it this setup doesn't look right now. The wires are connected, but it still needs some tweaking. It can't be all messy and obvious like that. They fixed it and made it look good. Right now they're generating about 200 watts of solar power. These solar panels are enough to produce all the energy they need. So their battery setup is almost done, just a few things left. Unfortunately, he didn't film it, but everything's clear now. Tell us, what do you think about this challenge? Also, if you had an unlimited budget, could you do something like this or not? Weird challenges are totally fine. Also, if you've made it this far, you're one of the strong people who keep going until the end. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and write your opinion in a comment. Your support is what makes the content continue and develop.